Easter. And so I was asking myself whether they are respecting the COVID-19 protocols. But I believe that as we walk into the weekend, these things will be made a bit more clearer. And then we would see more people at home and observing the Easter holidays.
But you can feel a change in the atmosphere, though.
Yes, I can feel it.
Yes.
But you can feel it when there's money in your pocket. Well, especially because when these festivities are approaching, you find homes changing the flavor of the environment around the house. People who are your neighbors will appreciate you because you really want to celebrate Christmas. I've seen a few cars with these palm fronds and so
I saw
driving around.
Yes, I went to Dodo.
So that's Easter, but the Easter holidays will be seen differently from what we witnessed about 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're thinking of maybe having a small party at home, this would be a very, like, a perfect fit for your party table to, you know, simply decorate it. You can come here if you want more for distribution as well. Like I say always, we've got you covered on that front.
And you know, we're talking about Easter. The police has issued a statement. They have given directives. Not more than 100 people should congregate for a church service. No conventions, no... the things the churches do around Easter should not take place. The Ghana Medical Association has also issued a statement cautioning authorities that they should not presume that the COVID-19 pandemic is going away, because when people are misled, that is when they are seen in numbers doing the things we don't want to observe them do. So I believe that this statement from the Ghana Medical Association is very timely.
Yes,
it is. You own your own life. That is what you must realize. You own your own life. And so in spite of all the caution, all the threats to punish or sanction you and so on, if you think you are smart and you are outwitting the police because they cannot be everywhere, and you engage yourself in actions that make you prone to contracting the disease, it is your own business.
Or even die, in the case of the tech students who have lost their lives.
And that's a very sad story.
Yes, it
3
is.
students.
Final year medical
one I'm told that had gone to, I think, Unity Hall to visit a female friend
and also fell
off and died. The other involved 2 students. One of them, as you said, is a final year medical student and a son of a member of parliament. We'll tell you more about that when Wisdom joins you. And I believe that you are aware that the government has released the list of deputy ministerial nominees. More on that, but before that, take this.
From Obobia Dakun Opoku.
Hello, my name is Obobia Dakun Opoku, and I welcome you to another episode of Pause for 3. I must say that I'm enjoying the interactions with you, my cherished viewers and listeners, on the various Pause for 3 pages. You're welcome to share your story or post your comments, and you may be my special guest on Pause for 3 Reloaded on Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pause for 3 is proudly supported by FlexiPay. I'm sure many of you have come across stories similar to what I am about to recount. There was a story that circulated for weeks and months about a lady who made a post on Facebook talking about being depressed and tired with life. Some 48 hours or so after making that post, there were very few engagements with her in terms of likes. No one shared the post and there were no comments. I'm very sure that no one even bothered to reach out with a direct message to her inbox. According to the screenshots and a copy of the link that were later shared, the lady later committed suicide. The comments under the post that announced her death had over 200 comments in just a few hours, with the likes hitting the thousands. This is the same lady whose post did not touch any of the persons now eulogizing her, sympathizing and describing her to suggest they were friends or relatives. Now, many questions come to mind about this. What I want to ask and talk about with you is, why do we appear to cherish the dead more than the living? Why do we ignore people when they need us most, only to show their lifeless bodies so much love and attention? There are countless occasions that we can all recount when we could not make the time to visit a sick friend. We have all the reasons and excuses to give for not having time to check on that relative, friend or co-worker. But let that person pass away, and we will all have the time in this world to spend. Running to their homes, making time for the 1 week commemoration, and even spend 3 days with the family to mourn him or her. We should not wait until someone is being put into the ground to celebrate them. If there's someone who means the world to you, make sure you let them know while they are still alive. We are only guaranteed this moment. Tomorrow is never certain. Let people know their worth in your life. It might make their life so much better. It feels so good to hear people say good things about you or tell you that they care. Pick that phone and call that old friend or co-worker you have not seen in a while. Do it now. And that's why I want to celebrate today and thank my friends at the Event PR Company, producers of Pause for 3 and their video production team from 46 Multimedia Solutions for helping lift what was just an idea into what it is today. Make the time to connect while you can. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back. I took a lot from Obobia. I reflected on my own life and I realized she was just on point. I've realized that because I failed to connect, I'm way back compared to a lot of my colleagues. It could be schoolmates, it could be your workmates, it could be people you know in your neighborhood. And so don't be reserved. Don't assume that you can do it all. Look for somebody around what you do. Just connect. Just make sure you tap into the opportunities available and don't just relax and take it that somebody will bring it to you. And that is what will change your life. Right. And I believe that as we speak, a lot of people realize that if they are taking the right step at the right time, several years ago, they would have been somewhere by this time.
Yeah, and so we should try to support each other as best as possible.
And it cuts across everything you do. You can be a watch seller and maybe the produce is not moving fast because you are getting something wrong. If you know somebody who can do it better, I want to break it down to my own level. You connect and get somebody to help you to do it better.
True.
It's a way of breaking the odds and tapping into what will open up all the things you want to use to enhance your life.
Yeah, definitely. And also, even though we are in the rainy season, we've seen that today is going to be sunny. But my advice for you during this season is that try as much as possible to always carry your umbrella or raincoat with you when you're stepping out.
Especially if you're a woman, because I know you value your hair.
Why?
You value your hair. You see, when it's raining and you see women around, it looks like they don't care about any part of the body except the hair. They are struggling, polythene bag here and there to tie the hair. So my advice is, even if you can't get an umbrella, you get some black polythene bag.
Or put in your bag.
Yes.
Or keep your hair natural, because natural hair likes water. So mostly when it's raining,
you feed it with natural water.
No, I mean, once it falls on it, it's even easier to style the following morning. So
better than the permanents.
Yeah. Now it's time for us to review our newspaper. I have the Daily Graphic, the Chronicle, the Herald, and one is Dodging, which is the Daily Post. Which ones do you have, Eric?
I have the Inquisitor newspaper, the Ghanaian Times, and the Business and Financial Times newspapers. These are the three I have this morning. But you see, most of the papers, did the Daily Graphic carry the list of deputy ministers nominees?
No.
Okay, so I have the list. I'm sure this came out late in the night. The president releasing the list, I didn't count the number, but Kweku Kwarteng, for example, is going for the Ministry of Trade, Patrick Boama, Deputy Minister of Lands, Richard Ahiagba, Deputy Minister of Communications, Yao Adumaku Befi is going to the Information Ministry, Mark Okreku Mante going to the Tourism Ministry, Reverend Intin Fojo, Deputy Minister of Education, Charles Edubuahin is going to be retained as Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. Vincent Ezia of the Crop Science Department of the University of Ghana is going as Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Jonathan Anaglo of the Department of Extension Service, University of Ghana, will be the Deputy Minister of Works and Housing if approved. We have Dakwa Newman, Deputy Minister of Transport. Jabbar John Benman is the Deputy Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Esther Nina, Deputy Minister of Gender if approved. Lawyer Justin Kodia, Deputy Minister of Employment. Akwesi Afrifa Mensah is going to the Local Government Ministry as Deputy. Francisca Oteng, Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture. David Asante, Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways. Dr. Adumako Kisi, Deputy Minister of Railway Development. Martin Kwabena Kwache is going to the Sanitation and Water Resources Ministry. Dr. Mohammed Anyas, Deputy Minister of Defense. Samuel Pine, I don't know, I think it's Sam Pine, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. John Kusi, Deputy Minister of Interior. And Dr. Bernard Okoboy, all of us know, Deputy Minister of Health designate. So that's the list. You may not find it in the newspapers, but follow us on TV XYZ and other platforms we have, and you get the full list of these nominees.
Yes. Also, now we are going to start with our newspaper, and I'm starting with the Daily Graphic. The most prominent story here says economic burden. IMF is saying it calls for national dialogue. It's saying actually that we should share the burden, just as Ken Oforiatta stated.
It's good that we all share the burden, because that's the only way we can overcome the challenge we are facing. But it's worrying that government is defending the taxes when at the same time people are asking, why would you increase the budgetary allocation to the presidency? You could have also decided to cut it.
Down, so
now we have a list of deputy ministers coming out. They are all going to feed on what we know is the little money we have in the public purse. And so if these are happening and everything appears to be normal around government and its operations, Parliament has had what it wants. The Judicial Service has had what it wants. Government has what it wants to take. And these are the three strong arms of government. So if they are getting what they want, why would you and I have to sweat even more to help us move forward? That is the controversy.
I guess it comes,
I believe a lot of people will be
comes with leadership. I mean, remember when the Israelites asked for a king, Samuel told them that God says he will take the best part of the crop, he will take your wives and da-da-da, and they still accepted. So I guess that's what we have to live with.
But you see, it is also going to make the negotiation by the National Tripartite Committee a bit more difficult, because people will be taking entrenched positions.
Yeah, definitely.
If you saw the statement issued by the Federation of Labour, for example, it made reference to the 6 new taxes which have been introduced in the 2021 budget and said there should be an immediate tripartite meeting. I've heard NAGRAT, I've heard the TUC, and so on. So when they are going to the table with hindsight, all these developments, they will go with what they also want. And that is where tighten your belt syndrome may be a difficult, because about 700,000 of public sector workers are taking a chunk of what we raise in our country as revenue. And if they are going to ask for more because they are going to refer to some of these things, then you and I will continue to sweat. But as for you, at the end of the month, if you are not paid because you are working on your own, or you are engaged in the private sector, or perhaps you depend on your relatives to survive, they in the public sector, whether they work or not, at the end of the month, they will be paid. So they are guaranteed a sustained source of income. And we have to look at all these collectively. So I go with the recommendation by the Bretton Woods institution, but how it goes and who is engaged in the participation is another issue.
Yeah. Also, apparently, the president is in Spain for Focus Africa conference. Now, government is poised for more development. This is coming from Baumia. Whereas Ghana Yearbook, a valuable asset, Speaker urges MPs to obtain copies of such. Now, at the back, Black Stars stamps out 3-1. So, yes, we are winning something. Today, they didn't draw. So, congratulations, Black Stars. Also, Tokyo-bound Azumati is Ghana's fastest man.
So let me do the Ghanaian Times front page. Registration of new companies. Ghana card 10 number requirement takes off on April 1st. It comes with a picture of the Registrar General, Jemima Owari. And the other story which was of interest to me is the president's trip to Spain to attend the Focus Africa 2023, and 3 new students die in 2 separate accidents. So look at the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper and look at how they were captured. But there's something interesting about COVID-19, safety protocols, enforcement of government announced restrictions, and the commitment of churches. Now, if you look at the center spread, I'll pause for a while, just critically examine the picture here as captured by the Ghanaian Times newspaper. This is a church service observing Easter, and wonder whether safety protocols are being observed. The police says 100 people at one congregation. Yes. So what you see there may be less than 100. Some are not wearing nose mask, no social distancing. And if this is what will be happening, then government may have to reconsider the statement that has been issued. The story here says Christians celebrate Palm Sunday amid COVID-19 pandemic. That's all I want to do from the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
So then I'll take the Chronicle. The Chronicle, there's been a loot at the Tema Port, but we do not have details as to why that happened. So it says national security swoops on Tema Port. This arms operative handcuffs him and discharge of fish from cargo vessels from Congo. But we still do not know why the operation took place.
I believe that if you move to the center spread or wherever, I did,
but they didn't tell anybody why they halted the whole operation. They just came, asked the clerk for the papers to that cargo, and then took it, handcuffed the man, and went away.
The little I understand from my engagements with those in such sectors is that sometimes they work on intelligence, and so they may have been following them over a certain period, or maybe they have an intel from another country about some illegal activities. It could be coming in as a fishing vessel, but sometimes they smuggle drugs.
Yes.
And so they will first of all swoop on them, and witnesses may just see the action unfold. Yes. I believe later
I'm very sure
go into it, the actual reason will come out as you suggested earlier. Now, the Inquisitor newspaper.
Eric, I didn't finish.
Okay.
Also, NLA puts dubious contracts on hold, whereas Oforiatta adopts new tactics to turn round the economy. Why Data Bank pulled out of a Japan deal is also here. Now, pressure mounts on Akufo-Addo to clear old guards.
Okay, so the Inquisitor on its front page, Shabrain clamped down, Ken badly bruised during 2 days of vetting. The Inquisitor vindicated. And then we have Techiman South NDC in turmoil, executive accused of tampering with pink sheets, and GRA union spits fire. We have the picture of Professor Stephen Adai, who is the board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Let me quickly look at the Business and Financial Times front page banner headline: current position on Heritage Fund baffling, economically imprudent. Ba Nwako is suggesting likens it to opening savings account with credit card and calls for dispassionate discourse of the subject. Business and Financial Times, the front page. That's how it comes.
It's almost time for the news, so I would have to quickly do this. Now it says prostitutes. This is the Daily Post. Prostitutes hosted by Ghana in diplomatic enclave in South Africa lead armed robbers on a robbery spree. If you want to know more, you pick up the story. Also here, the banner headline on the Herald says NPP NDC MPs endorse Ken Oforiatta's state capture and his evasiveness. Now Joshua Alabi also justifies Tony Luther's legal work for the UPSA, whereas Cocoa Board wanted Lethovit fertilizer, certificate renewed after calling it inferior. Investigator tells court at Upuni trial.
So business will continue with Wisdom Hedejome, who has the news shortly.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Coming up this morning, Delhi Bruli also resurfaces in Ashanti, raising fears of major health crisis in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Rumors rise Finance Minister designate Ken Oforiatta could be approved by Parliament this week in spite of reservation to his performance at the appointment committee. Sisala West MP bemoans neglect over years worsening already bad roads and health facilities serving poor communities, and police hospital closes down this Easter for major fumigation exercises. My name is Wisdom Hedejome, and we have details coming up. Let's begin the bulletin, and now it's been established that one of the two students who died in a gory accident at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology over the weekend is a final year medical student and the son of MP for Nalerigu Gambaga Alhaji Isifu Baba. Now, the disease was among the 5 colleagues, including a student of the University of Ghana, who were on their way back to campus after night clubbing.
Investigations have begun, but one is yet to be picked up. Police on campus say initial reports say one of the deceased, a level 100 BSc mathematics student identified as 19-year-old Captain Larry Leslie, fell and died at the Unity Hall. He had gone to visit a female friend. 2 others died on the spot after a gory car accident while they were on their way back to campus after a night clubbing. The saloon car reportedly ran into a tree. One of the survivors is said to be in critical condition. 2 others are stable now and likely to be discharged by the close of this week, according to officials at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, where they are on admission. In another incident that has gone viral, 2 students were seen in a fierce fight while others looked on helplessly. Others, one of whom may have been taking the video, is heard running commentary with fun. Listen.
Don't spoil. You don't spoil. You don't spoil. You Hey! Water combat! Hey! Hey! Bro, Strummer. Hey, my car! My car! My car! My car! Don't spoil. You don't spoil. You don't spoil. Hey! Water combat! Hey!
TV Xyz News has learnt the incident had triggered debate among students, some of whom are still devastated by the sad death of their 3 colleagues.
My car!
And so, KNUST there over the weekend in the news for those and the sad development. Well, let's still stay in that part of the country because the Ashanti Regional Health Directorate has raised an alert about the resurgence of Bruli ulcer cases, which could soon get out of control if urgent steps are not taken to control it.
Buruli ulcer is a devastating disease which causes extensive destruction of the skin and soft tissues through the formation of large ulcers, usually on the legs and arms. In endemic regions, exposure to stagnant water, especially swampy areas, may be a predisposing factor. The mode of transmission in humans remains unknown, but virologists believe polluted water bodies are fertile grounds. Until the 90s, when it became endemic, it was not largely known. Official records, however, indicate that the first case was reported in the Greater Accra region in 1971 among residents along the Densu River Basin. In 1993, Ghana Health Service, with the support of the World Health Organization, embarked on a major exercise to eradicate the disease. Buruli ulcer can be devastating to patients. Late detection and treatment could result in physical deformation, amputation of limbs, and death in extreme cases caused by destruction of tissue with the formation of large ulcers, especially on the limbs and other exposed parts of the body, such as the head and the neck. It's emerging that the neglected tropical disease is fast spreading again, particularly in the Ashanti region. Officials fear it can get out of control if government does not activate preventive measures. Ashanti Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Emmanuel Tenkran, who confirmed the new cases, says other NTDs such as yaws and onchocerciasis are being recorded in some farming communities.
Now, the consensus in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic has been described as disturbing. Now, as the downward trend of active cases continue, they fear Ghana could experience a third wave if restrictions are flouted during this Easter festivities. Now, meanwhile, the Ghana Medical Association has issued a statement cautioning against compromises. It says the pandemic is still a health threat. Now let's turn attention to the plight of people in deprived communities. First, Adenta here in Accra.
Bridge, you know, I buy my so I can because of Inqualano school for. Sometimes no one in Sune twa. Inqualani to Mukane your modern so move it. A do a home, my minister, a better car, mao, a dear chat. Aquafa police station ho nti nkwala betimi akike mu saa na obi afa ne kwan
ba na he yim but na ekwa bia ni a betimi dia akoso kwa we ni but ekoba say bridge bugu mu no ene nsu no fe mu no ena ya bobia samo MPP government no e na dwe say be bridge ena Kofi Anto ata mu so mu be bridge na ma ya na so omu ibe so mu nyi there are some around say, Omuma may bridge in my na a car will to me has to me.
A very many pass my barber for see a bridge because you know a lot of problems my face will be you. That I say, majority of this road, it's maybe like a bema, Yenia de Pa, because who frame has it to Adenta unless Oko Waya from a dinner is very, very bad. And I tell you to me, you're a fine way. A very, very good. A bit near my opinion, because all couple when a cry is waste of food.
So let me give you some perspective there. Now, what you just saw, it's about an abandoned road project which is renewing public anger among residents in the Adenta New Legon Community 8 area. Now, they accuse the MP who seek their mandate are taking them for granted after promises. Now, one of such individuals chose to Facebook. In a post simply accompanied by the picture, he wrote, Honorable Ahmad Ramadan, this needs your urgent attention. Now, TVX was the news followed him with messages, and through his simple citizens report, he got these residents to speak on record. Said the MP for Adenta, Yabuabian Samoa, had promised to fix it but lost. Now, their hope is in the current MP who is dashed because he hasn't shown any interest yet, though he's aware of their plight, especially as the rain sets in. Now, the sad thing is that during the downpours, they are virtually Now, in a related concern, MP for Sisala West has filed an urgent motion in Parliament demanding their roads. He's asking questions why their road, hospitals and other social amenities are neglected. Now, he spoke to the press corps last Friday.
Sisala West District in the Upper West region, with Gulu as its capital. It is largely deprived and the people are predominantly farmers. Though the region is largely dry, with little or no access to water bodies for irrigation, maize cultivation and livestock rearing remain the main source of income. Like many other districts in Upper West, road networks are untarred, dusty, bumpy, dilapidated bridges, best described as death traps, hindering the carting of farm produce to market centers. During the rainy season, commuting becomes difficult as low-lying areas become flooded, making it difficult for vehicular movement from the capital to neighboring towns. This is the district hospital serving a population of over 60,000. The compound depicts the deprivation and lack of basic amenities, which one of such is roads. Last Friday, MP for Sisala West, Adams Suparu, was billed to raise the issue on the floor of Parliament. He said his urgent question is to summon the Roads and Highways Minister, Kwesi Amoakwata, to answer questions on the poor state of roads in his constituency.
Immediately this government came to power, 2017, the contractor abandoned site and since then has never returned to site. We have another road, we call it Gulu Town Road. There was another contractor, even after 2016 election, the contractor was a site within Gulu Township. And after 2017, the contractor also left site, and up until now, we don't even know the whereabouts of the contractor. Another road, we call it Gulu Lepime Jawiya Road. There was another contractor on that section of the road. That contractor has also abandoned site for about 5 years now. Sometimes you ask yourself if we do not deserve to also get our share of the national cake.
MP for Sisala West also lamented about the neglect of the Sisala District Hospital.
We were told somewhere last year, May, that government was going to build some 88 hospitals. And Gulu, and for that matter, Sisala West was part of the district hospital government had earmarked. As I speak to you, not even a single block or site possession or something even convincing the people of Sisala. I filed a question, an urgent question for that matter, asking the minister to come and respond to the question regarding the Gulu District Hospital. Why this? Gulu, and for that matter, Sisala West is located in between Sisala East and that of Lembusi. And the people of Sisala West either access the London District Hospital. The Tumu District Hospital, there's a lot of pressure in the Tumu District Hospital. And so when it comes to issues of health, we are far, far behind. I would even say it is only God that is protecting us in the midst of this pandemic.
Let's now turn attention to Parliament, where rumors arrive Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta could sail through and may be approved by Parliament as a whole later this week.
Public opinion is strongly divided over the fate of Finance Minister designate Ken Ofori-Atta. Those praying he gets an overwhelming nod are referring to what MPP describes as his track record in stabilizing the economy, now run down by COVID-19. Critics, however, maintain he has been cooking figures and must be held directly accountable for major scandals including PDS, Ve'ejapadio, conflict of interest in several alleged infractions costing the state billions of cedis, while his cronies and businesses continue to exploit the state. One of such controversies is about the failure of his ministry and government to account for petroleum revenue in excess of over 1 billion cedis over the past 3 years.
That this is not tantamount to any type of corruption from the ministry or the government in any way. We should be clear on that. Let me assure you that all of these issues would be resolved, and we can have, a happy medium with PIAC and going forward.
Another controversy, which is likely to be investigated, is about his appointment of his sister as managing director of the Ghana Trade Fair Company Limited. This was his response to a question on state capture.
Issue of, state capture of a financial sector, I think it's a difficult one to behold because of the 30 years in which the firm has run on values and skills. Our alumni are everywhere in the banking and financial institution.
Meanwhile, rumors arrive Parliament will approve the minister this week after what some claim was a unanimous green light by the appointment committee. Mr. Foriata claims he's still responding to treatment endured 2 days of vetting after his return home from the US, where he spent 1 month at a hospital for post-COVID-19 complications.
Now, President Akufo-Addo left Accra on Sunday for a 2-day visit to Spain. Now, the president, according to official statement, is attending the Focus Africa 2023 conference in Madrid. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo is accompanied by the Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayoko-Botchwey, officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and the presidency. Now, the Focus Africa 2023 forms part of Spanish Foreign Action Strategy 2021 to 2024, which includes specific Spanish government policies targeting the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the African Union's 2063 Agenda. President Akufo-Addo returns home tomorrow, Tuesday, March 30. Let's turn attention now to issues about Easter because Christians have begun activities marking this year's Easter. Now, ahead of the weekend, church leaders are advising and devising innovative ways to mark the festivity to avoid any confrontation with the police.
Last year, Christians in Ghana and the world at large did not mark Easter festivities because of COVID-19 restrictions. Though the pandemic is still active, most countries have learned to live with it. Churches in Ghana can go ahead with festivities but under strict protocols. There shall be no conventions, pilgrimages, crusades, among other large gatherings. However, churches, mosques, and other religious bodies can hold services for a maximum of 100 participants and not beyond 2 hours while strictly observing other COVID-19 safety protocols. The police has served strong notice to pastors and other church leaders that those who flout the directives will be arrested and prosecuted. The police statement reminded the public that the ban on carnivals, beach and amusement events is still in force. Again, night clubbing, cinemas and movie houses, as well as operating closed-room bars and pubs, including those in hotels, remain illegal. TV XYZ News has been speaking to some Christians ahead of Easter. Let's hear them. Meanwhile, the Christian Council of Ghana has also, in a statement, urged all churches to avoid Easter conventions in public places, Palm Sunday processions, and Easter Monday picnics. The council has advised all members to observe the 2-hour duration for services.
We were thinking that by now all of us have even died. Since last year I was still alive and got the opportunity to celebrate Jesus Christ. It is a very good opportunity for me to be extra happy.
I was thinking that maybe because of the COVID-19 medication that was out there, we would have been able to celebrate the Easter this year, because last year was a total lockdown, but this year has been a bit different, that we are even graced to be at the church to celebrate Easter.
Last year couldn't come on because of the pandemic, the COVID that came around. And for this year, for it to come on, I'm very happy. I'm so excited. I'm waiting for God's blessing and His impartation. So I'm grateful.
What I'm expecting is that I'll be going to church throughout the week with my family and also fast. And it's not time for going out, chilling and the rest. No, but it's time for prayers. And it's time for thinking about what Jesus Christ came.
Now, the police hospital has served notice its doors will be closed to the public during the Easter break. Now, versus to pave way for major fumigation works.
The police facility, which also serves the civilian population, particularly patients from Cantonment, Osu, Labadi, and other nearby communities, will be closed to the public from this Friday, April 2, to Monday, April 5. This is to pave way for a major fumigation exercise. Police officials, however, say patients on admission will be catered for. A statement signed by the Director of Public Affairs, Superintendent Sheila Abeye Bachman, appealed to nearby public health facilities in Accra region to accept patients or emergencies which would have otherwise had been referred to the police hospital by officers or patriotic citizens. It cautioned that plainclothes and uniformed personnel will be deployed to monitor compliance and take the necessary action. The statement also urged the public to be alert during the Easter celebration and dial 0550-323323 or 0275 000156 and toll-free numbers 1855 or 191 or 112 to report suspicious characters or criminal activities.
And that pretty does it for this morning's edition of News in Brief or Morning Update. As always, www.myxyzonline.com have more news stories and update for you. My name is Wisdom Hedejame. Abena Sewa continues with the Morning Update.
Definitely. Thank you, Wisdom. Yeah, so we'll be taking a quick break. When we come back, we will be talking about the disturbing incidents that happened over the weekend on the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology campus. So stay tuned.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks, auto checks.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
Auto checks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. Auto checks.
Welcome back to the morning update on TV XYZ, proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. Of course, my name is Nana Abenasewa. And as I said or indicated before the break, we will be discussing the sad incidents that happened on the campus of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Is Easter, and normally the norm is that we mourn the death of Christ, and then because we know that there was a resurrection, we have hope, and so we celebrate after. But this is not the case for these students. There was an accident over the weekend on the campus where students who had gone out to party and were coming back at 3 a.m. two of them actually met their untimely demise, and one we know is in a very critical condition at the teaching hospital in Kumasi, and two are also receiving medical treatment from the hospital as well. Now, it's been established, as I said earlier, that one of them who died is the son. It's a very sad event, and I'm trying so hard to be able to communicate this to you properly. Now, the picture you're seeing on the screen is the son of the NDC MP for Nari Lugu, and he was actually buried yesterday as a custom for the Muslims. They do not keep the morgue, or do not keep the deceased body for a very long time. Now, he was buried yesterday in Kumasi, a very solemn event. The father apparently was in so much tears because this student is a final year medical student. You can imagine how much money has been pumped into him, how much sacrifices the parents had to make to put him where he is or was. It's a very sad event. When I saw it, I saw the cars from the accident scene, and a lot of things have been said, a lot of things have been going on. Most of the students have been in tears actually, because some of them were close to them. So another person who died, one of the students who died, is called Bafo Kweku Ewa. He also lost his life instantly during the accident. Hopefully the two that are also receiving treatment and the one in critical condition stays alive and healthy. The car, as you can see on, oh my goodness, Jesus Christ. I am trying not to be the usual Nana. So yes, I'm going to stay strong for you. That's the accident scars that you're seeing on the screen. You can see some bits of blood. So please, if you cannot handle certain things like me, then you might want to stay away from looking at the pictures. Now, we know that today there will be a special prayer that will be held at Ahinima Kokobeng for the MP's son, Yusiftia Seidu. Also, another student went on a visit. Now, before I even come to that, one of the students who was involved in the accident is a student of the University of Ghana, Legon. The question is, what was he doing over there? He left campus to go there because Legon is also in session. So what was he doing over there? How bad are the students being managed? Yes, they are university students, and so you cannot really restrict them. But I think also that sometimes we can find a way to put them in line. Because I know that when I was in Legon, I was at Pent, and at a certain time, the gate was locked. So if you go out and you come back at a certain time, you know that you have to jump the wall, or, you know. So we have been trying to talk to the SRC or even the management, but because the management spoke earlier, they have asked that the SRC keep quiet about the event until further notice. But regardless, we will be talking to a student who witnessed one of the incidents that happened, which is a young man who went on a visit in one of the halls, Unity Hall, lost his life during that visit. So we will be talking to the student to find out exactly what happened. Hello, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. So I've been told that you witnessed the incident firsthand. Could you kindly tell us what happened?
Yeah, I witnessed the incident myself.
Right.
Yeah, during the morning, like around 6:30, 7 o'clock, we were having some aerobic section at the Unity Hall. Yeah, that Saturday, we were having some aerobic section in the morning. So after the aerobic session, we had some fans. We had this, like we were playing around, doing some crafts and cards, playing like those outdoor games and indoor games over here.
Right.
Okay, so we were just we heard some screams from the block A, that the girls' side. We had some screams for that side, so we ran to that place. We went there to see a guy like on the ground with blood oozing out from the head. So we decided like the girls over there were afraid to take the body to the car and send him to the hospital. So me and another two guys we held the guy, then searched for a car, and we sent him to the hospital. Unfortunately, when we got to the hospital, he was dead.
Right.
And the guy, like, according to the girl who the guy came to visit, they were just there talking, having like conversations. Then the guy was right in front of the stairs. So, talking to the guy, according to the girl, the guy went off. I mean, he collapsed. And he collapsed, like, the staircase was that short, so he couldn't, like, the girl couldn't hold the guy forward. So, when the guy went off, like, he quickly went back. That leading him downstairs of the stairs. Quickly, like, got himself hit over there.
Right. I mean, aside this event, I'm sure you've also heard of the accident that happened over the weekend as well, through by which 2 of the students have lost their lives and 3 also in the hospital receiving treatment. Have you heard anything about those that have been receiving treatment?
Not yet. I've not heard anything yet.
You haven't?
But I heard about the incident. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how are the students handling this?
Okay, as it is now, like, everything is cool on campus. The PC system and everything is trying to work everything out just to make sure the students are fine and very well on campus.
We're talking to a student whose identity unfortunately cannot be disclosed, and he's telling us about the incidents that happened on the campus of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We have been trying to talk to SRC, but we cannot, as the stance management have instructed that they stay away from media-related issues for now until further notice. So you said going forward, how can some of these issues be handled, especially with regards to the accident situation? Because we heard that the students went clubbing and were coming back at about 3 a.m. in the morning. You're a student. How do you think that you can be managed as a student?
Okay, from my expectation and my idea, I think the students can be fully controlled as in going out to party and other stuff. But it's up to the students to take very good care of themselves when they go out over there to have party, swimming and other stuff over there. It's up to them to take very good care of themselves. Because I heard they were drunk, then they were coming back from the party with that speed. Because that 2 a.m., 3 o'clock a.m., there's no car on campus, so they could drive slowly to their hostel. But because they were drunk, they couldn't, like, take care of themselves. So I'm advising all students, like, to take good care of themselves when they go out to parties and other stuff. Because the university authorities can't really control them. Go out, go party. So once they are going, they should just take good care of themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how are you students handling yourselves with regards to the COVID protocols that have been put in place? Because from what we know, there were 5 people in the car. So first of all, they were not observing social distancing, and then they go into a club, and I'm sure the club was also filled as well. Does this mean that you students are not going by the protocols that have been put in place?
Oh, for the COVID protocols, I can assure you everything is on point in this school. The social distancing, the wearing of the nose mask, washing of hands, and everything is on point in this school. But I don't know why, like, and I guess it was because, like, it is a party. So they have no other choice than to fly themselves in the car and go there, to have fun.
Right.
And it was in the evening, so no kids, like, they able to check them. That's why the incident happened.
Okay, so take it as it's just you and I having this conversation, because as I said, there were 5 people in the car. So it's a bit worrying to know that even though you're not supposed to park yourselves that way, regardless, there were still 5 people in the car. So this tells the whole world that, students are not necessarily going by the protocols. So please, how often do you see your colleagues putting on the nose mask? Even in class, how close are you sitting by each other?
Okay, for the class aspect, the spaces and everything is on point, as I just said. The COVID-19 protocols have been observed in the school, in my class, and in other classes as well. Because if I go to other class for my gender, I'm running for position lessons. So I go to other clubs to have talks with them, and everything is going on with them.
Okay. All right. Thank you for talking to us. But before you go, what would you like to tell your colleagues as well before you leave?
Okay, to my colleagues today, all I have to say is like the school, the university itself can't take full control of them. That's the major point. The university cannot take full control of them. But the only thing students should do is just do good job themselves, follow the COVID-19 protocols, and I think their life will be better for them. That's all.
All right. Thank you for talking to us, and my deepest condolences to you and the entire student population as well. Do have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we were talking to a student who, like I said earlier, we couldn't put out his identification because the SRC and I think the entire school have been told to keep quiet when it comes to this issue with regards to the media. Now, as you see on the screen, is Yusuf, who is the son of the MP for Larilugu, and he lost his life during the accident that occurred. You also see the accident cars that will be put on the screen as well. Now, one student who also died is Bafo Kweku Ewa. 3, as we know, are in the hospital receiving treatment. But the one who fell, unfortunately, also lost his life immediately. All I can say is that we own our own lives. Students, I know that sometimes we can go haywire. Sometimes we want to break the rules. We say that rules are meant to be broken, but sometimes those rules are meant to save your own life. So let's try as much as possible to adhere to the rules. Sometimes, yes, you can go break the law once in a while, but not when it's detrimental to your health or when it's detrimental to your own life. You've lost your life. You're hurting your parents. You're hurting the entire student population as well. A lot of them would have to undergo therapy to be able to get over this, to even, complete the school. So we beg you, and also try to observe the COVID protocols that have been put in place. It's very, very, very important. I know that most of us have been joking with this. This has been the social segment on the morning update on TV XYZ, proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water. We'll be back where Eric Anyanyo will share the newspaper review. So stay tuned.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia edia tre medwuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre miye busia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekuro bosia, susu account, eni da so wɔ hɔ savings account, me bada chain savings account, ene de keka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Na won so wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural, mixed, mineral water.
still got it. Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome back. This is TV Xyz, this morning update. And it's sad to hear that on one campus we have so many bad news over one weekend. 2 students dying in a lorry accident, 1 student falling off, and we unfortunately hear that these students went out reveling, and on their way back around 3 a.m. they have that bad accident. If you look at the impact and how the car was almost cut into pieces, you would understand the speed at which they were driving. And if you know the Kwame Nkrumah University of campus very well, it's full of curves, especially if you don't know campus very well. And those are the pictures on the screen. So sad. 2 dead, 1 in critical condition at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. We understand 2 others are in stable condition. But you see, what you must always do is that if you have a ward, wherever the child may be, even if the child is working as an adult, national service, whatever, peer influence is one thing you have to manage. And there are some traits that you must observe when your children are growing up. It will give you an idea about the kind of friendship they make. And that is very important. Final year student at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, reading medicine. So you can imagine the number of years the person has been on campus, the kind of investment the parent has made. We don't know much about the second child, who may have also been a final year student or otherwise. But because we are not talking about the other person who died, should give you an indication that as we speak now from this platform, I don't have much detail about the person. And so I can only ride on the other one, which is so painful. We saw the picture of the gentleman who passed and was buried yesterday. We understand special prayers will be held. I spoke to the MP personally, and that's the picture of the gentleman on the screen. Very handsome boy with a bright future, but we can form our own impression. But the fact is that the Member of Parliament for Nalerigu is so devastated, so devastated. I spoke to him yesterday. In fact, he told me he cannot speak to the media. He doesn't have much to say. It can be your child, it can be your son, your daughter, whoever. And so parents, don't assume that your child is in a tertiary institution, they are 18 and above, they have their freedoms, because your wish is that you bring finality to your dream, that you open up opportunities for them to have a brighter future. We'll leave it there. The school authorities obviously will investigate and institute new measures to prevent some of these actions that put the children in trouble. This morning, John Kweku Mensah Mauto is the Dean of Students at the School of Graduate Studies at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA. Is with me. He's a doctor, Dr. John Kweku Mensah Mauto. Charlie? Charlie, you know why? We all learn.
Yes, sir.
And we know it isn't easy to become a doctor, yes, especially in academia.
Yeah.
The kind of thesis, the project work you do, and even if you get difficult supervisors, that is where you have your headache. Doc, take dash me. let me acknowledge who you are. Now, Doc, we have a lot to discuss this morning. Ken Ofori-Atta obviously is on the table because over the weekend we got the impression that the appointments committee may have given him a unanimous approval. We don't know how true it is, and this week he may get the nod. We have a list of deputy ministerial appointees out, quite a tall list. We also know that there's conversation about issues that came before the appointments committee and whether Ken Ofori-Atta was being truthful or evasive or being factual. I've seen a post by Gabi Asari Ochredakun, who is very influential when it comes to Ghana politics. And in that post, he says that, look, Ken Ofori-Atta is an achiever. And a lot of people who seem to have developed hatred for him is not just because he's a nominee and a relative of the president, but they are basically not appreciative of the strides he has made. And then we have other conversations regarding the Easter festivities. We'll be looking at these in bits and some extensively. First, your comment on this sad incident at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning to all your viewers. It's unfortunate to wake up this morning. I think we heard it yesterday to the news that, especially when we have a country with limited number of medical, practitioners, for a student to have gone through medicine and got into the final year, and whilst just on the verge of preparing to complete and then start his practice or their practice, all we heard was this bad news. My condolences goes to the parent. It's unfortunate. I also heard of the MP who one of them happened to be the father. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. This is where we are. Sometimes some of those misfortunes may fall before a particular family, but we can only give thanks to God. It's unfortunate. But once again, it tells us the issue of being. I mean, nobody knows what will happen to you, but especially when you have to take some time off and then making merry, coming back late, we need to be very mindful of some of those things. We normally will tell students to be very mindful that, look, we live in a world, especially when you have enemies trying to beckon you whenever you try as much as possible to overcome some of the difficulties in life. It's unfortunate. So we can only express our condolences.
Now, let me take advantage of this conversation to extend what we think should be the best way out. I know the University of Professional Studies, Accra, has recently instituted measures to bring some level of discipline among students, and it's been a controversial issue people have debated. But how difficult is it managing or controlling students who at that age are seen to be people on their own, and so you can't just punish them, but you can only advise, and in this case they do anything on their own, either on campus or in hostels around?
Okay. That was apt. In fact, we as a university, we all have rules, okay, but sometimes you cannot really control everyone from their hostels. Well, in the case of UPSA, we have rules at a hostel. I used to be a hall tutor some time back. After 12 o'clock, you're not supposed to go out. I mean, you are coming. Yeah, you come in. So whenever you go out, you ensure that by 12, you should have gotten back to your hostel. And then the issue of even receiving visitors, we normally will restrict it a certain period of time. All those rules were formulated just because we want the student to concentrate on the reasons why they came to school. It's very, very important. But sometimes you cannot control it. We have a couple of private hostels that you cannot regulate their rules. And some of these students will prefer some of these hostels because there are laxes in the rules. They are not very strict. And those ones falls outside the remit of the school authority. So it's important that we have rules. I don't know about KM University whether you could stay out for a very long time in your hostels. Is it about time? I understand you perfectly and I share your views, but is it about time that we look at a better way out? When I was at the University of Cape Coast, for example, as an SRC executive, what we did was we made it mandatory that any hostel facility outside the campus liaises with the SRC, where we make sure that similar rules that bind the halls are transferred. And so we make recommendations to students. So in some of these hostel facilities, the owners are asked to at least enforce some of or a little of the school regulations. They may not be able to control the movement of the students. Some do. And so when parents come, they ask, what do you recommend? And we look at the demeanor and understand what the parent wants, so that if you don't get the hall, then you choose. That could be a regulatory measure to ensure that it should not be free for all, where some of these facilities, as you put it, what do you think should be the way forward? Just as you mentioned, you can only recommend. Okay, you cannot really enforce the rules because these are private, institutions, firms established to make profit. So they will normally, not regulate the students so much that they may even end up losing students every semester. But within the hostels, the numbers are limited. We have university rules, so you formulate rules and make sure that you implement them when students violate those rules. Very, very important. But you cannot really push it on the private investors. They are in to make money. They may have rules. You can only recommend to them, and they are not obliged to, accept your university rules. Some don't even,
and even the students may not.
Some don't even believe in our rules. That at that point in time, students, the caliber of students we are talking about are matured. They should know their way out, so they don't believe in restrictions. Okay, but in the wisdom of universities, in the wisdom of the administrators, we have several experience in the past, so the rules were not formulated in vacuum. It's due to events that has taken place over the years. So you try to bring in a little bit of some restrictions, okay? The current discussion, national discourse on Rastafarian being denied admission and all that. Those rules were not formulated in vacuum. I think there were rationale behind those rules. So probably we've gotten to a stage where we will have to look at a review of some of these rules to see whether, yes, indeed, it's in consonance with current dispensation. In contemporary governance, do we really need some of these rules?
So as we wrap up on this conversation, you are in academia.
Yeah.
You are still a dean of students.
Yeah.
Yours perhaps may be a bit more mature because you are dealing with graduate students.
Yeah.
But what would you advise parents to do? Because in most cases, some see it as pride. My child is at the university. Let me give the child a flashy car.
Yeah.
They speed on campus. They do all kinds of things, and the parents look on. Please use this platform.
Okay.
Advise them based on the experience you have, the observation you have made, and let's learn lessons.
Okay. It gets to a stage that you cannot really impose rules on your children. The little I can say is that parents should be a bit closer to their wards when they even go to universities. It's unfortunate that some may not even visit their children, their wards, when they go to university because they think they are old. Okay, but sometimes the fact that you may sometimes pay some visits in the course of the week or the month, they still have this feeling that my parents' eyes are on me and they are watching me, and for that matter, whatever I do, I have to be very circumspect in doing them. These are some of the things. But you see, at that level of education, you have students who you presume are very matured, and you cannot control them. You can only restrict them to a certain level. But when it comes to the parental care, probably the only thing you can do is to always check up on your child. We seem to leave the child after secondary school. We have parents who, on a weekly basis or sometimes bi-weekly basis, they go and visit their children in the secondary schools. But once they pass out and get to the university, they don't seem to attach the same relevance to visitation. Now, if they were in your house, there are some level of restrictions, which are sometimes when I completed secondary school, the restrictions were not as much as I got to the university. But at least the visitation by your parents, by my parents, my sister, my siblings, sometimes with some advice, that is one of the things that I can say that at that level you cannot really persuade people to do things, okay? But you can only educate them. Now, we also have to work on the counseling, okay? Currently, we have every university with counseling units trying to ensure that the students are spoken to, educated on some basic livelihoods, some basic lifestyles, okay? And we can't do it all. So parents must also start thinking about how to get closer to their students when they get to the universities.
Well, Dr. John Kweku Mensah is the Dean of Students, School of Graduate Studies at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. And I believe that as a parent, the little I can add is that peer influence, especially when your child becomes a teenager and starts growing and has that freedom is very high. If you appreciate the investment you have made, paying 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, nothing even from kindergarten through primary, SHS, and then at the university, you must understand that it's a huge investment. And so if you want it to go waste, don't take the advice. But if you think that you have that attachment to your child and you want to groom your child for a better future, begin to monitor the child and use persuasive means to condition the child to understand what is best for him or her. Now we are moving on to another topic, and this topic is 2 in 1. One has to do with appointments, 2 has to do with whether government is waking up to its own call that let's tighten our belts. Over the weekend, there were lots of conversation, Kenneth Furata in the books, and I don't understand and for what reason why public attention will be focused on him, but it's obvious that his own actions, leaked letters about the role he has played in some controversial government decisions, and his appearance before the appointments committee, responses to questions, what people see as evasive responses, what people see perhaps as perjury and so on, and what others acknowledge are smart moves he demonstrated in preferring the best way to manage the economy where we are. What did you take away from all these commentaries on social media and other platforms over the weekend?
Okay, I think I watched some excerpts of the interview. I mean, the vetting. And I first of all like to thank God for the life of our Minister Designate for Finance. I think he's been through a lot, especially when he has to be flown away from this country to seek medical attention. Just because of the COVID that has ravaged the entire continent. For me, now the vetting is a normal, procedure. It's been rendered as normal, and I mean, if you have been if you'll be fair to me, I've been saying that I'm not so much. I don't have so much expectation for this new parliament. Just as people are talking about. There'll be changes. We are going to be at a crossroad where Parliament. No. So I wasn't really. I was, in fact, I mean, it's a normal thing they do every year. What I capture from this is that we normally will have people being vetted, and then issues will crop up. We spend too much time on the past. I've mentioned this. We spend too much time on the past than what the person will be doing. That's very, very important. I've been mentioning this. I've been echoing this. That look, let's devote much of the time to ask them of their policies. What are you going to do? I mean, we are in the second term of a government. By now, whoever has been appointed knows the vision of the president. So what are you going to do to help the president achieve his vision? We spend about 90% of our time digging the past, when in actual fact, in the past, Parliament has the right to rectify anything that happens in the past. If something happens in the past, they have the powers to invite the people, to let the whole public know. They have the power to even conduct investigation in them. Why do you wait till... I'm not saying that asking people on why they did some things in the past was bad, but we spent too much time. So I mean, dwelling so much on. I
understand the drift, and what I summarize from the explanation supporting your position here is that, in spite of all the concerns people may have and the expectations, Parliament has consistently shown that there's nothing they can do anyway about the appointments committee. But where some may differ in terms of digging the past, it's about how that past can hurt the future. There is a minister of state, many people allege, is deep in the state capture agenda. This is a minister of state, many have evidence to suggest that there are issues about conflict of interest he must satisfactorily respond to. Over the weekend, for example, I've seen a letter circulating in which he has actually appointed his own sister as MD for the Ghana Trade Fair Company Limited, which is obviously conflict of interest. And there are other related issues people have linked to. Now, if you don't dig this past and just reduce it to let him come and respond to questions, are you not at the same time giving him the opportunity to perpetuate what he may have started that a section of the public think is wrong?
Okay. Now, just bringing out what he has done during his vetting. What good have you done, Ghanaians? Yes, it's expose, but you have the powers to ensure that the right thing is done. Was it conflict of interest? Did he go through the processes before appointment? Are you saying that the trade fair company doesn't have a board? Because by the nature of our corporate governance, we should have a board. Why should a board sit for Minister of Finance to appoint, write a letter and appoint a whole, CEO of a whole organization with a board? Some of these things, if Parliament believes in some of this, they've chanced on it. They have the power to invite this man to answer these. These are my issues, okay? So I always expect that, look, a minister designate should come out with his or her plan. And then let's subject those plans to serious scrutiny at that level. And tell, look, this is your vision, this is your strategy will not work. Then we are talking about the future. But spending too much time on things that we should have done in the past. Do you know, there was this serious issue about Get Fund. I think they are fund managers, Dachi fund manager. I don't know whether you heard that one. When it came to light that those fund managers are those who even process the disbursement of funds, Get Fund loans that they assessed. Okay, you remember this $1.5 billion loans assessed by Get Fund, but there's a fund manager who now scrutinizes all bills before it is disbursed. It comes to the floor of Parliament, and then you are asking the Minister of Finance as to whether this is very true or whether he's aware. Now, to my disappointment, he wasn't aware, because he can't be aware of everything. Parliament, there is a sector minister in charge of education. The ministry directly responsible for this particular agency or trust is the Minister of Education. If you have heard this as Parliament, what have you done? Have you corrected the wrong? Were there provisions in there that there should be a fund manager to peruse some of these processes before? What's the rationale? You spend so much time, asking this man whether, and naturally, you don't expect the finance minister to know everything that happens in all the ministries, all the agencies. But you see, issues of, I'm not speaking for the minister, because issues of this financing procedures, which is of significance, so much significance to the development of our educational system. Okay. When the amounts are so significant, we expect the minister to at least know something about it. Okay. But you don't expect him to know everything.
I will come back to that, because obviously some may disagree with you, some may subscribe to some of the strong points you have raised. I want to read a few text messages, because sometimes it escapes me when I don't touch them. Boshaba Amnesty Gosu Zongo says, if President Akufo-Addo travels, he brings good things to the country, so his traveling will yield positive results. This text message from I'll read. It's from Ablade in Takrady. He says, can Oforiatta to be approved by voice voting? Why is the minority members in Parliament doing this to sink the party? Look at what Ken Oforiatta brought to us. Example, PDS Ijapa, banking sector, clean up, falsification of economic figures, blah, 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 and it goes on and on. This message says, when will the MPP government cut the crap? Who should share the burden? This is a government which created needless ministries like evaluation, special development, you name them. There are too much waste and thievery in the system, and it goes on and on. I didn't acknowledge where this message came from. If I can, I will. This one is from John in Tamale. Okay. This one didn't come with a name. Sorry, the one I just read didn't come with a name. This one from Johnny Kumar says, thank you very much, TVXYZ Xyz TV. I believe that what you are doing is in the interest of this country. Now, Eben from Kwabenya, Ghana Water has done a great disservice to its customers, and I think it's high time we the customers let them bear the consequences. It goes on and on. It says, if they fail to read our bills in COVID time to give actual bill, I don't think it's fair to pass it now to the average consumer. Last but one says, it's from Score Zakaria in Sunyani. Nanado has destroyed Ghana. He has nothing for Ghana. He's limited to corruption and lies. And for us, for Baumia, we have no time for him and is incompetent in Akufo-Addo. I'll be acknowledging our sponsors. When we come back, the conversation will continue.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For our Kwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome back. I've been joined by Mensa Thompson of ASEPA. Mensa, good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks, you have joined us. The conversation at the moment is about the appointments committee, and obviously we'll move on to the list of deputy ministerial nominees. Happy birthday, Emma Na Amale or Amale Doku in Efiama Pamprum. This is from your sister Mary Mensa and her son Chiboy. May God bless you. Today is your birthday. And we join those wishing you happy birthday to put a smile on your face. Just sit by your set, enjoy TVXYZ Xyz TV, and we continue. And then I'm also told that my boss, Ato Sapong, former deputy minister for communication. Today is your birthday. President Nana Akufo-Addo, is that right?
Yes.
I'm told today is also his birthday.
Yeah.
He's going to enjoy in Spain, even though he's going to work.
Yes.
And today is his birthday. Charlie,
I'm sure the trip will be extended.
Oh, it will not be extended. It's coming back tomorrow.
It will be on top of the world.
But that's just on a light note. President Nana Akufo-Addo, happy birthday. Somebody should pass this to him from Xyz TV and TVXYZ. Ato Sapong, it's your birthday, but I mean, I'll come for something from you. And of course, Emma Na Amale Doku, I want us to celebrate them. Let's come to you, Mensa Thompson. Let's leave the fun and talk about other serious issues. Now, we were having a chat on Ken Ofori-Atta, and I'm sure you listened to Dr. John Kweku Mensah-Mauto, who said that, yes, there may be a few things people may still be suspicious or worry about, but the appointments committee should be focusing on the way forward and not wasting time on issues that the parliament as a body can equally address at any time.
Yes, Eric. Thank you. A very good morning to your cherished viewers. I think yesterday I had some information that the appointment committee had already voted, and the committee has approved his nomination by consensus. I haven't had confirmation on that, but those are informations that I got, and I am quite worried, Eric, if that turns out to be the case. You remember we had sent a petition to Parliament, to the committee. We've raised a number of issues. We received some assurance from the committee that they were going to work on it and look at the issues to the latter. Apart from that, we had also submitted to the committee a list of witnesses which we wanted the committee to invite to testify based on the issues we've raised. We had also submitted hardcore evidence of the issues that we've raised against the nomination of Ken Ofori-Atta, and we had been assured that we're going to look into these issues. In fact, during the vetting, a number of the issues came up, but the responses that was given to these questions, to these issues by the nominee, instead of answering the issues and laying the fears of Ghanaians, rather heightened our fears, because the answers were extremely unsatisfactory. They were just mere afterthoughts and things that the nominee was just passing around, nothing substantive. He could not substantiate a number of the things. And so I am shocked, I'm surprised that we could be getting some of the information that we are getting. Eric, apart from that, a number of things came out from Ken's vetting that was extremely shocking, and a few of them I would like to mention. One, the fact that Mr. Ofori-Atta unilaterally usurped the powers of the president or the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and appointed somebody to the Trade Fair Management Board, or the team, or the management of Ghana Trade Fair. And he couldn't respond.
No, but is this not a trivial offense that you are referring to? Because there is a man, some would say is an achiever, who is going to manage the public purse.
Achiever of what?
And so if he unilaterally appoints a relative, let's say to manage Ghana Trade Fair Company, should that be the worst offense that should deny him the opportunity to help govern, i.e. his contribution towards the finance sector?
No, Eric, there's a reason why laws are made. Okay? The appointing powers of this country lies with the president. The president appoints and disappoints. So as minister, you cannot usurp the powers of the president and appoint somebody. You don't have the powers. So that was an abuse of office, and he was allocating or appropriating to himself powers he did not have. And so such a person cannot be trusted again with that power. That's the issue about trustworthiness. That's what this whole vetting process is about, is to assess your trustworthiness as an individual. The second issue was the fact that even as a finance minister nominee, he was already restructuring an Eurobond. So remember, Honorable Naidu asked him, so in what capacity was he structuring the Eurobond? In what capacity? As what? So you've been nominated, you have not received approval from Parliament. So you usurp the powers of Parliament and start taking decisions on behalf of the country. Like structuring an Eurobond.
So what crime would he have committed if those who are appointing him and those vetting him in their own wisdom assume that it is not as serious as you think?
That's why I'm outraged. Because you cannot usurp the powers of Parliament, then go to Parliament and get away with it in Parliament. You can't, it's unacceptable.
Let me read a post by Gabi Asari-Ocheredako, which may refer to people reasoning like you. It is not directed at you, but it's a simple description. And he says that, and I want to quote, Patriot Ken Ofori-Atta is bastardized by persons who don't appreciate his self-achievement. It summarizes a post he recently shared. And there's a school of thought that, look, he's been targeted now, and the public is being made to assume that he's a failure, and as I put it earlier to John, somebody who is supporting a cause to we call state capture. And so that perception is driving anything around him by the critics.
Well, the critics of Ken Ofori-Atta, like myself, have shown time and number the reasons why we so much criticize him. It's not as if we just get up and we criticize him. It is not out of personal vendetta. We criticize him because he takes certain decisions and actions which we believe are in direct contravention with the provisions of our constitution. And if you go to President Akufo-Addo's government and you're looking at one appointee who does not respect the laws of this country, is Mr. Ofori-Atta.
Reference.
Look at the issues. We have laws concerning conflict of interests in this country. In fact, the Financial Administration Act provides clear-cut directions to ministers of finance who have private businesses and say that they cannot take action A, B, C, D because of the powers that the finance ministry gives you as a minister. One, because you have the powers to budget and make appropriations. You have the powers to decide which contractor should be paid and which one shouldn't be paid. Okay? There are several powers which that the Constitution puts in your care.
Which could be abused.
And so the Financial Administration Act puts out clear-cut, directions that, look, as a minister, you should behave this way. Unfortunately, everything Mr. Ofori-Atta has done since he assumed office in 2017 has been in total contravention of the Financial Administration Act. Not just the Financial Administration Act, the Public Financial Management Act, the Fiscal Responsibility Act. In fact, he's broken so much laws, now we've lost count.
I'll come back to you. They are interesting points, but if you listen to Mensah Thompson carefully, it raises issues about what will be described as good governance.
Okay.
When we talk about good governance, is it about somebody's achievement, or it's about laws that must be strictly respected, irrespective of whoever is in government, to ensure that standards are always sustained? But in this case, he makes reference to a lot of breaches, which as a people we want to brush aside, which suggests that we are not serious when it comes to democracy and good governance.
Okay. All right. I think I've also listened to my colleague here, and even though some of the issues, from where I sit, I just will ask questions to get some evidence. In fact, if we're talking about good governance, then we're talking about the structures, which has already mentioned. Structures are developed to help you govern. That's the simplest way I can define good governance. So the issue of the appointment, just as I mentioned earlier, who did he appoint? Did he appoint a CEO or a board member? Ghana Trade Fair is under Ministry of Trade,
Yes.
Not even Finance.
Yes.
So what powers did the minister have to appoint? Now, even if that is the case, is it that we didn't have a board, for which reason an appointment is coming from a different ministry? The structures of governance, in Ghana, is such that all these agencies falls under specific ministries. That's why I question the issue of Get Fund. Why should they be questioning Minister of Finance for something that happened under the Education Ministry? Because Get Fund falls under Education Ministry. So Get Fund will be privy to virtually everything. Education Ministry will be privy to everything that Get Fund does. In addition to that, even because these ministries work together, even on Get Fund board, the trust, we even have reps of the Ministry of Finance there, as well as education. So some of these things were created, those structures were put in place so that ministries will know whatever happens in some of these agencies. Very, very critical. And that is what makes governance accountable. That is also what makes governance more educative. Because
Doc, you realize that during the vetting processes, there became a phrase, "I am not aware syndrome."
Thank you.
Which cut through some key sectors of the economy.
Thank you.
And everything suggested that perhaps the finance ministry or some officials in government or close to government were taking unilateral decisions that others could not speak about. There is also the mindset that if anything should even have gone wrong, Parliament as an institution would then play the watchdog role as the legislative arm of government who supervise how the public purse is expended.
Yeah.
Now, from where we are and the conversation coming from him, that's Mensa Thompson and you, do you think that we are serious as a country?
Okay, so
let's be blunt.
Yeah, I'm very. I mean, you know me. I'm very, very blunt to some of these issues. We sat here and said, and we're able to, carve that niche for some of the ministers who designate who have the view that we don't know syndrome. We've not heard of it before. But you see, it is very, very important to know that maybe some of the ministers, they do not know their roles. They don't know the powers given to them by the Constitution, as well as some of the statutes. Okay, let me give a classical example. How, like the Minister of Finance saying that I don't know the issue about it. I'm very particular with the Dachi issue. On the board of Get Fund, we have representatives of ministries, and those representatives, when they go for attend such meetings, they have to give you periodic briefing of what transpired. So the question is, are they briefed on what happens on those boards? So with the representative on the Get Fund board by a finance ministry, do they brief the finance minister? So if that's the case, if you have a rep, then you cannot come out to say that no, I am not aware of whatever transpired there. Because occasionally the reason why you are represented there is for your rep to always brief you.
Or you demand you are briefed.
No, in fact, you demand it.
And you have sat on interview panels, and this is where Mensa Thompson says that such a portfolio, and with so much experience that people want to ascribe to Ken Ofori-Atta, he should not be appearing before a vetting committee which is going to make its proceedings public and assume the posture that I don't know, I will move on.
But I empathize with him. I mean, he can't know everything actually. But you see, what I want to put across is that to cure this issue of we don't know syndrome, if there's a particular agency that you have a rep on their board or councils, okay, or their trust, what you have to do is, if they haven't started doing that, is to demand, periodic briefing from their reps to tell them what really goes on there. Now, let me sway a little bit to some of the issues raised by my colleague here. That I don't know, but I beg to disagree with him that all the decisions he took contravenes the laws. I don't know whether that's a flip of a tongue, but we will need some.
I presume that he's referring to some major decisions.
Yeah. Because,
and let me make reference to some critical issues. Okay. There's been Eurobonds that we've been going in for. Okay. There are issues around it. Okay. There are scandals that have been mentioned that we have not brought finality to. Right. And these issues threaten the finances of the state. Okay. Whichever way you want to look at it. Okay. Now, just last week, the Auditor General's report from 2017 to 2020 was out. Yeah. We understand that about 20 billion has been stolen or lost to the state if we are not able to look for where those monies are and then bring them back. Okay. And we understand also that all the flagship programs by government for 2021, the total of allocations to the various sectors is about 7 billion. Mm-hmm. Now, if we cannot get institutions like Parliament, like the executive, like the judiciary, like the media, everybody is not able to ensure that we protect the public purse, then you ask the question, is democracy appropriate, or we perhaps may have to understand that military regime is better? Because we have seen something and we all agree it's not the best. And we have gone in for democracy, and the democracy we have subscribed to, all fronts, all legs of the arms that we stand on to ensure that we protect ourselves and develop our country are almost inefficient. In summary, that's how some may see it. I don't know your response, because I'll take the same question to Mensa Thompson.
So you see, I think you are in sync with what I just mentioned. The Parliament have those powers, the supervisory powers, to invite any minister, any head of agency to account to Parliament, to their subcommittees, even before vetting. But the most important thing is that, yes, indeed, there are some level of laxity in the work of some of the ministries when you hear the issues of We don't know. We are not aware because they have reps on those agencies. Now, the focal point here is that I have monitored this Minister of Finance for some time. His expertise, yes, he has flouted some number of, especially the first Eurobond. There were issues of approval concerns that was later on rectified. The issue of the rectifying the Eurobond, restructuring of Eurobond. What I'll ask, the question is, has it gone through the approval process? Has it sought the necessary approval before? And has it even implemented it? Okay, we could do some preliminary restructuring before, because Eurobonds are time bound, and we all know that what we do as a country currently is to always securitize our bonds. We borrow to pay loans. I mean, this is what we are doing. You hear people, government going for about 3 billion bonds, loans, but about 60% of those bonds will go to retiring existing bonds. So at any given point in time, you need to always be conscious of the timeliness of the retirement of a particular bond, and then probably refinance those ones. I wouldn't, where I am, I don't have information as to whether he's implemented it, or he's probably doing the preliminary, discussion with the investors. So I am very particular with the issue of accountability. I've mentioned it here. When it comes to governance, you cannot take out accountability. What is Parliament doing about their role as one of the organs of governance responsible to ensure that people are accountable, especially the executives are accountable? And that is why my argument, I still insist that, look, Parliament has a right to do some of these things before. One of the issues that also emerged, the Ijapa deal, I think we sat here severally when the president promised that Ijapa is coming back to Parliament. For some of us, we say it's good news. You bring it back. But, let's
address the concerns.
The minister mentioned that, yes, indeed, it's one of the good deals. He's proud of it. He wanted to come back again. It was very, very innovative. It has happened before. But once again, we start here and say, look, let's address the concern. It is time. You see, ASEPA played a serious role when this issue of revisiting and reviewing some conflict of interest that were so much into this Ijapa deal. Okay, I think before it even goes to Parliament, let's have a national dialogue. Look, let's assemble all the stakeholders, subject this new deal. Look, there could be something that is in there that we cannot see, that they are saying that it will help this country. Okay, but you see, in the past, something else, we have some experience in the past. Today, how many shares we have in Anglo Gold? But when it was introduced, we had more than the shares we have today. Okay, over the years, a number of governments, successive governments, have come to sell their shares off, just to enhance their liquidity. Okay. All right. Are we going to put some clauses in there? You see, when you subject some of these policies to national review, where all stakeholders will make input, you'll be able to come out with very good policies. But today you may have one of the good intentions, but to protect it in future, these are the loopholes you have to love. These are the gaps that you have to love.
Let me take the same question to you in a different form. Okay. Mr. Thompson, as he said, ensuring good governance, accountability, fighting corruption, that's been your cause. How things have been unfolding over the last few years, would you say you are losing hope or you soldier on?
Well, I think that we have to fight on. You know, this democracy that we have today, we fought for it. And nobody said it was going to be easy. And the fight is not going to end after you have attained the democracy. You have to fight again to perfect the democracy. And so I think what the fight that is going on now is a struggle for perfection and to get things right. And I don't think that we must lose hope. I didn't like your first question about the military. I mean, military regime. There is absolutely...
It was a rhetorical question.
Yes.
I believe that I know what I'm saying, and
yes, people have heard,
and I know,
yes, I've heard people,
what I want to emphasize on, and so I'm not even scared that national security will pick me and say,
no,
for military.
No. That is
my
not,
emphasis is this.
That is not the point I'm making.
Ghanaians have walked away from a military regime because we said, in as much as they may be doing things buga way, they have their own plus and minuses. We have gone in for a democracy since 1992. What suggests that the democracy we are building, which is tied to good governance, is not being abused by a few who Rollins will say, scratch my back and let me scratch my back. That is what we are observing today. And is it the best? And I am speaking to the conscience of everybody in governance, either with civil society or as any ordinary individual. How can we change the tangent that we are observing today?
Eric, you have very, very genuine concerns. Yeah. And people have raised several questions about whether democracy is really good for us, because we feel that the politicians and the political class are taking advantage of the system. They are not solving the problems that we are facing. They're faced with, and what have you. And so these are genuine concerns that people have raised. You see, and the things that keeps happening seems to, instead of allaying the fears, rather heighten the fears of some of you, including us. You know, for example, when this idea of a hung parliament came in, people had so much expectations that people were going to see more transparency, we were going to see more accountability. I mean, the power scale was going to balance, because then you have a stronger parliament that is going to tilt, you know, the scale from the executive to a power balance level. Unfortunately, has that been the case? So more and more people keep losing confidence, you know, in our democratic process. But then again, what alternative do we have? The only alternative we have is to fight to ensure that the proper governance systems work, to ensure that there's proper social equity, there's proper accountability, there's proper transparency. That is a struggle that countries have dealt with. If you look at the US democracy, it's over 200 years. They also went through the challenges that we went through. Our democracy is barely 25 years old. Okay? This is the first time we've had, you know, a sustained parliamentary democracy uninterrupted for 25 years. It has never happened. Yeah. So our democracy is quite young. And so this is a phase in our democracy where we keep asking ourselves questions. Now, the question that we are asking, and that is why I hate it when any government attempts to truncate the voice of the people, or to you know, shut the voice of the people, like closing opposition media houses and stuff. Because this is the time people have to ask the questions. It is the questions that will bring about the change we want. And so when you prevent people from speaking up, when you want to victimize people from speaking up, when you want to put people down because they've challenged your authority or they've raised critical questions that affect your governance style, then we will have a problem. And so let's keep asking the questions and let the questions lead to the right direction and the right change that we want to see in our governance structure. But I just want to address a few issues about the JAPA transaction.
You can be snappy.
Yes. Eric, there were three things fundamentally wrong with the JAPA transaction. One, the valuation of the mineral royalties. Our mineral royalties give us at least $200 million every year, subject to gold prices. So in 15 years, we are talking about in excess of $3 billion. So if you are going to go and collect $500 million and give them this for 15 years, definitely you have undervalued the mineral royalties. Two, the fact that the company that was going to be in charge of the management of these gold royalties or mineral royalties was incorporated in an offshore tax haven, which also raised fundamental issues with the transaction. Then three, some clauses that have been put in the transaction that has ceded control and the management of the company to the private entity or the vehicle that was going to manage the royalties in perpetuity, instead of government that owns 51% shares in the company. So these are the three things we've raised primary concern. Our issue, civil society organization, our issue with the Japa transaction is these three things. So address these three things, bring it to Parliament, let's look at it. Once these three things have been adequately addressed in the next transaction you bring to Parliament, we have absolutely no problem with that. The right valuation, you incorporate the company in the right jurisdiction, and then you eliminate these clauses and put total control and management of the company.
So at this stage, I want us to move forward into other discussion. Now, the deputy ministerial list is out. Asikweku Kwating, we all know him. He was at the finance ministry. Now he's moving to trade. Dr. Bernard Okoboy, who was trending when he lost his seat, is going to the health ministry again as deputy health minister. Sampine is the deputy minister for foreign affairs. I'm just going through the names. Richard Ahiagba is now deputy minister for communications and digitization. If he's approved, Adumako Befi, Ministry of Information as deputy. Marco Kreku Mante, we all knew, the Minister of Tourism and Culture, Charles Edubuahini, to stay at the Finance Ministry as deputy, and the list goes and on and on. Now, government has said, and I will begin with you, Mr. Thompson, and let's do some 4 minutes so that I can do another 4 minutes to move on to another topic. Is that let's tighten our belts. We are introducing new taxes. We've lost so much at the COVID. And so we want to manage what is left. But we know that there's a conversation about allocation to the presidency. And now we have another set of ministers, I'm sure it will be more than 20 or 30, which is out as deputies. Now, would you say at this time that government is doing the right thing because deputy ministers are very much needed for some of the key sectors and therefore cannot do away with deputy ministers? Because the narrative before the first list of ministerial appointees came was that, oh, there may be no deputy ministers because that is government's move to cut down expenditure.
Yes, I think that we've seen some of the ministries. I hear the regional ministers are not going to have deputies. Sure. I think it's good. Some of the ministries need deputies. Some of the ministries need, the others don't. Apart from that, I think that it is a number of the ministry that should have been cut down and merged, so that even if you have 1 or 2 deputies there, then
a lot were scrapped.
You know, yes, some, not a lot, some, you know. But I mean, I've seen the deputy ministerial nomination list. Nothing really interesting in that list. Apart from a few notable names, Richard Ahiagba, you mentioned. I think it's a good appointment. He's been at the forefront of, you know, government communication from the Dankwa Institute. He's been defending the government every here and there, always running around. And so, well, if he's been rewarded, I think that is what political parties are for. I think that he's done quite well in terms of being able to communicate on behalf of government and, you know, explain things well. A few notable names. The MP for Kwabri East, Francis Kautin, also landed some appointment here and there.
She's going to the deputy minister. She's going as deputy minister of fisheries and aquaculture. But you see, the conversation is not only about the list, it's about the conversation on the table. Let us brace ourselves for some difficult times ahead. We are introducing new taxes because it's a necessary evil. TUC is saying that, look, we are sweating and therefore we need more pay. It's still the same public purse. These people are going to drain the public purse. And the question is, what does this point to average Ghanaian who doesn't benefit from all these?
But Eric, has government demonstrated that we are in difficult times? Has government demonstrated that? Have you seen the allocations to the Office of Government Machinery, which has ballooned to over 900 and something million Ghana cedis? Is that the expenditure pattern of a government who says that we are in difficult times? This economy is in serious tatters. Serious tatters. The economy is further contracting and contracting. We've been compounded with taxes. Government is not doing any extreme fiscal reform that will easing up, the tax burden on a few people. We've asked, take a critical look at the number of people. You have a huge, our economy is largely an informal economy.
But there are initiatives in the 2021 budget, for example, which are post-COVID-19 driven, i.e. the 100 million CDs or Tampa project and so on.
Where are they going to get the money from? Have they told you where they're going to get that money from? Please, they shouldn't create these illusions because it will come back and haunt them. Okay? If you take away government's total revenue and grant, plus interest interest payments and salaries alone, it's about 90% of total government revenue and grant. You have barely 10% left to do almost nothing. You don't have the fiscal space to borrow because your debt is at unsustainable levels. Now we are going to go to the Eurobond again to get some 2.5 or 3 billion. It is going to take your public debt, to almost 80% of GDP. Okay, you are over the roof. Where are you going to get that money from? Please, they shouldn't deceive the public.
Okay. So let me come to you, Doc. I don't know how to put it, but was the president finding himself in a difficult situation? I.e., here we are, a group of people who have managed to win an election, and we have come with a list. Some people must also get a job, or, of course, weighing things in terms of how the problems will be solved. We need all these hands with all the things that accompany such offices to come in, irrespective of the concern Mr. Thompson has raised.
All right, thank you, Eric. I think this has to do with some of the issues we raised as analysts with respect to the previous appointment by the president. I think we all agree that the previous government was too large, and once you propose a large government, you are talking about its associated cost and expenditure. The new agencies that were created, the new ministry that were created, it means you are going to add onto the existing costs. Now, coming back to the appointment of deputy ministry, yes, indeed, this year has been. We have seen a different government. The numbers have reduced, and the fact that the numbers reduced, and the fact that the regional ministers will also have deputies, which I disagree. I don't see why you shouldn't have a deputy minister, especially when you are leading a whole ministry, a whole region, and you have to do everything yourself.
Some of them are even MPs.
Yes, and you have to do everything yourself. I disagree with that. Probably because of the expenditure.
What do they really do? We have a structure of governance where we have political appointees, and then we have technical or technocrats who are at such ministries. So if you go to the regional minister's office, for example, there's supposed to be a regional coordinating director with all the structure they have there. If you go to a typical ministry like, let's say, finance or health and so on, there are people with so many years of experience. Should we be thinking about saving the public purse by actually empowering some of these people to give direction, rather than get people opportunity to occupy posts and walk away with the Article 71 freebies after 4 years or 8 years?
Eric, if you are to look at the role of a regional minister critically, then I can tell you that he is more responsible to even protect the purse of this country. We are looking at somebody who is representing the president in those regions, somebody who is coordinating all activities of the sector ministers. Okay, whatever you are bringing to that region, he's responsible to ensure that all those things have been executed. So his role, and most even coordinate the work of some of these DCs and MCEs. The issue is about proper coordination. The issue is about proper responsibilities and how to implement work and how to execute the task that has been enshrined by the very provisions that establish them. Are we doing same? One of the ministries that I created, I thought I could have heard so much from it, the evaluation ministry.
Yeah, ministry for evaluation, whatever.
Yeah, monitoring evaluation. You see, I expected so much from them. No wonder it has been scrapped. But how many reports did you receive from that ministry? I thought occasionally this ministry would have been, all their reports have been made public to know which particular sector was doing well or no, or wasn't doing well. Because evaluation simply means review the system, give us feedback. But we didn't get all those feedback. So that's why I said I disagree with the role of, the government flashing out the the deputy ministers for regions, probably just to ensure that cost is minimized.
Are we not over-exaggerating? I'm sending a question to Mensa Thompson, but you may stay there for a few seconds.
Okay.
Are we not over-exaggerating the roles some of these appointees play? Because we have lived with them and we know what they do. Liken this to a typical university where you work. We have the vice chancellor at the top, and then we have a proper, well-structured administrative structure. And therefore, you don't expect that at your department, when every structure that must work in relation to what you do as dean, for example, you would want to suggest that a certain body may have to micromanage everything you do. We assume that those heading those institutions are equally competent. That's why they have a team as public servants they work with.
I like the word assumption. I like the word assumption because, you see, the problem of this country's leadership, the right people to perform the task, okay, they are mandated for which they are appointed. Now, if you trickle it down, as a leader, your major role is supervision. Ensure the vision, the policies that has been laid down are adhered to. They are implemented. When you look at the university sector, for instance, you just mentioned there are some universities that have only one pro-vice chancellor, like the vice chancellor, the vice president or pro-vice chancellor. In some, they have as many as four, because each pro-vice chancellor is responsible to a sector, either administration, either academics, or either research. And when you spell out all these rules, they are defined rules and responsibilities, you realize that even what they are supposed to do may not, that office alone may not be able to do it. Okay, just as I mentioned, it is more of supervisory and coordination. You have one leader in there who is ensuring that the right things that the public or civil servant must do is being done. Very, very important. Okay, so I would want to sway into the issue of, yes, indeed, too much cost. We already spoke about the large government numbers, which has been reduced now, and then the fact that the ministries we have, the numbers also reduced. Some were told that they were just created to achieve a particular purpose, which they have achieved, so they've been scrapped. But previously, the numbers were too large, which also impacted on our expenditure. Okay. And we all saw it. But thank God, and just to add up to what Mr. Thompson mentioned, Eric, in all democratic dispensation, the developed ones, you never get developed without CSOs, without the media, without everybody involved. That is why the military is not an alternative. They may have all their positives, but once we have decided to go with democracy, then the players that make democracies survive, to strive, are the other stakeholders who are always speaking, asking questions. You know, questions normally help in developing. Subjecting yourself to peer review is what enables you get a feedback to develop. Apart from that, nothing.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, same question. I want us to touch briefly on Baumia's list of first-term achievements to wrap up. It's a long list. We can't say much. I'll take your word, but we were speaking to issues about going forward. How do we handle these with all the structures in place? Briefly.
Well, I think that we must prioritize as a country. You know, I think that's one of the key problems that we have, as allocating resources to the key areas and making sure that resources go to the right direction so that we can see the right change. Yeah, so, I mean, and a lot have been said about that. But as for Dr. Bawumia, Eric, I don't know who the handlers of the vice presidents are. You see, they are constantly overexposing the vice president. You see, and it worries me. Because, I mean, why do you send a whole vice president to go and tout things? I mean, I've seen the
about inflation being reduced from 15 to 10.4%, lending rates from 32 to 21%, cleaned up the mess in the financial sector. Ghana consistently one of the fastest growing economies. Gross international reserves from a certain, then successfully exited from IMF, planting for food and jobs, pension scheme for cocoa farmers, one district, one warehouse, recruited nurses and doctors, import duties reduced, restarted operations of Anglo Gold, enrolled 15.5 million. The list is tall, about 90.
That is the.
Why would you think he's making mockery of himself? Because he knows that he's eyeing the presidency, and in 3 years' time,
restructuring
full out campaigning.
Restructuring of Anglo Gold is restarting Anglo Gold Ashanti is the achievement. What role did Dr. Bawumia play in that?
He's talking about government.
Oh, please, Eric. You see, Eric, if you look at our economic indicators, the best economic performance we have chalked as a country was in 2011. 2011, inflation was at 8.5%. Our interest rate was was record low in 4 decades. Our growth rate was about 14.5%. Eric, if you want to compare, okay, and total interest payment, okay, interest payment as a percentage of government revenue and grants was about 27%. Our debt to GDP ratio was barely 40-something%. And the point I'm making is that if you want to assess yourself, put your best record there, and then let's look at the economic indicators today. Let's look at interest rate today. Let's look at inflation today. Let's look at our debt to GDP ratio today. Let's look at our growth rate today. If you take away the oil sector, we are barely hitting 1% growth rate.
In a nutshell, you disagree with you.
I'm saying that they shouldn't expose the vice president to this. These are not achievements.
All right, hold on. Doc, let me take. I've just 4 minutes left, so I'll leave you 2 minutes uninterrupted, and then I'll read my messages and we leave.
All right. So today we are talking about sustainable development. Okay. Sure. When you churn out all the figures of indications, the indicators, and then you can't sustain it for probably more than 2 years, then I don't think we can say you can be singing any praises. But in the case of Bawumia, I mean, let's be fair. And sometimes I also expect that the CSOs should probably come out to deny some of these things. I am very much particular with how Ghana should industrialize our economy. And I think this government brought on board this issue of one district, one factories. We've been told that 76 of them has been completed. And today, I mean, sometimes you can boast that today you don't need to always import tiles. We have about 2 big factories out of this initiative manufacturing tiles in this country. We don't have to spend too much money.
Irrespective of how much has been pumped in and government annexing existing businesses, that is giving them small, how do you call it, baits as loans, and then telling the public that
so that is where we expect the civil society organizations like ASEPA to now do thorough monitoring evaluation of these processes and now inform us.
That controversy may have been addressed for most part of last year during the election campaign, and he suggests that because Bawumia may be packaging himself to contest an election, he should not be overly exposing himself with facts that are can be challenged to make it look like he's lying to the public.
So that's why I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That, see, I want to hear those challenges with facts. Okay, the man says that we have been able to establish 76 companies under 1D1F. We have brought in. I mean, they have been able to bring in some automobile companies, that VW, Nissan, and also have helped. What do you call it? Kantanka Group. Okay. These, to a large extent, they've added something to the economy in the sector of industry. So the question is, if we have some data to prove otherwise.
Okay.
Let's help the populace to know all these facts. So the CSOs must come out, and I'm very happy. You know, in contemporary Ghanaian governance, I like the way CSOs are coming out with issues, with facts, with data, and that's how we are to go. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate I brought some food that is so juicy.
So juicy
that,
to eat too. I really wanted to eat this food because there's so much in here that we have discussed.
It will trend because the Dr. Baumia factor is of public interest because of where he intends to be next after the next 3 years. Now, this text message says, "Good morning, host. Last time you read part of my message and left the rest for fear of the law, but you said we should say it as it is. We will grow as a nation by this principle. Then Owusu Akwa, as a man can say, at least today, there, I try read all. Sometimes you must also understand that we have a policy as a station, and so we go by it. Sorry, but today I tried. Mustafa Loa Manya Krobo. The Nana Akufo-Addo government has finally retrogressed Ghana backwards, increasing in social vices, and hardship has come the order of the day. My regards to Honorable Davido and lawyer Benedicta Lassie. Mustafa from Lower Manyakrobo sent this. From Dr. Abedi Quadraso Akap something. It says, wishing the President Akufo-Addo all the best as he heads to Spain to attend African conference. But let's, in our leaders, pray for them to run, and so on and so forth. Good morning, TVXYZ. Today's university students are really difficult to control. The authorities have empowered students as against faculty members. The students feel at the university they have freedom and must be allowed to enjoy freedom. As a faculty member, I am only concerned with what happens in the lecture hall, and what happens outside, that is none of my business. The more you try to get to discipline and serious, you become a target. Worried lecturer, KB. I love this text message. And the last one says, good morning, TVXYZ. I enjoyed your panelists. They are frank and they believe that they are doing the right thing. That's all I have for today. Mr. Thompson, I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Abaka Wilson, today is his birthday. He shares the birthday with the president, and also to another Dr. Ebenezer Obeng of Obeng Prime, which is a company. So, and
Mary also celebrated the birthday. We wish a happy birthday, Doc. 30 seconds, free of charge.
Happy birthday to the #1 gentleman of the country, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Okay. We are very happy for you.
You should chill, but I shouldn't be on top of the world.
And on behalf of Nana, people have been requesting that how can you start the show and end without Abena? Tomorrow I will end with her. She'll be reading your messages.
Is Abena's birthday today?
No.
Okay.
You know, say they just want to see her, and so when she gets off for a long time, they don't like it.
Oh, okay.
I read one of the messages on my phone like that. I know the person who sent it. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks the production team. Thank you, Xyz TV. Thanks TVXYZ. Those following us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, you can go there, share the links, and see you again tomorrow.